All right, welcome to part 2, class 5, painting tonalism, and we're going to be doing a wipe away painting using multiple colors and doing more selective color spots. And I'm just going to go ahead and jump up there and get started here. Let's move this up so I can be closer to the colors. So I just have a simple black and white reference here. I'll be changing this up a little bit, but I'm trying to think of how to get started here. I'm going to start with well, I'll tell you my colors really quickly. They're odd. I just picked them kind of randomly. Got titanium white, Indian yellow. I've got a transparent yellow oxide here. This is a transparent warm red by Rembrandt Paints. And this is transparent brown oxide, which looks really, really dark. And that's also by Rembrandt. I've got a raw umber, Payne's gray, and then over here I've got green gold. So I'm just going to quickly kind of sketch in using my transparent red, kind of my big shapes here. So first thing is I'll put in my horizon line. I'm going to put it up pretty high.
Quick question, Michael.
Yep.
Do you have like specific use cases for raw umber and burnt umber?
I don't. I've been kind of using them back and forth. I think that the raw umber is a tiny bit greener feeling than the burnt umber is more red. I know that the burnt umber will dry faster, which is great for sketching in.
Okay, cool. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
But like for like mute down color or anything, yeah, there's no difference between that too much.
No, I mean, there is a difference. I don't know. I almost never use my raw umber. I almost always use burnt umber. It just happened to be out, so I squeeze some out.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
So I'm just kind of sketching in my big shapes here. Now I've got to decide if I want to put a tree over here in the foreground. I might just leave it out, actually, and just kind of put in background trees here. And the reason I'm using my red is that I kind of feel like it's going to be kind of my color that binds everything. So everything will have some semblance or sense of red in it. Step back, see if I like this kind of design. Can you guys kind of see a creek in there and some trees?
Yeah. Yes, nice.
All right. So now I get to start doing spot colors. So my sun is rising or setting. It's actually setting in this picture here. So I know that this is going to be kind of my warmest area, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and put in some Indian yellow in there. I also know that that light is coming down onto the grasses here, here, here. And again, this is kind of just experimenting a little bit. You can see I'm obliterating my drawing already. but I have kind of an idea of how I want it. Plus, I'm going to be open to changing it as it needs. I've got my reflected light. Also. All right, I'm going to keep going from my warms to my cools, mostly so I don't have to clean my brush. That's how lazy I am. And I'm just kind of scrubbing them in so that I've got, so I'm keeping them pretty thin. I don't want to have super thick paint at this stage generally. And a lot of times when I do this wipe away method, I am thinking a little bit about the layers of the paint. Putting that yellow on first, I'm hoping that it kind of stains. Putting the red on, I'm hoping that it stains. And that color will come through the darks when I wipe away the darks a little bit. I hope. I'm doing it so quickly, I hope I'm leaving it enough time to kind of stain the canvas. I've got a gesso added to this. And I know that over here in this quadrant of the painting, it's going to be a lot darker and a lot cooler. But I can kind of pick out some areas where maybe I want some of that warmth to be able to show through underneath. All right, so now I got to think of what's my next color I want to do. I could do kind of this transparent earth, transparent yellow oxide if I want. Don't think I'll be using a lot of that. It's so transparent that I think it's just going to fight with those reds and other colors in there, but maybe I can use it in this transition as the scene gets towards the slightly darker, slightly cooler, slightly more earthy colors. And I'm thinking about how that light is going to be kind of coming across from the back, hitting the tops of things where they turn into the shadows that are facing us. So it's kind of a weird way to paint in that I'm thinking light to dark versus how I normally think dark, light. I'm thinking from light to dark versus dark to light. Let's go ahead and jump to our Payne's gray. I'm going to mix that with a little bit of that raw umber. And I'm going to bring in some of the green gold, which I don't know what that'll do. It's going to disappear into my mix up here. It's very dark.
Yeah, but there's green in there.
Now I'm thinking of the shadow sides, the darker parts of this scene. And we're all in this together. We're all experimenting and learning together here because this is not something I've really done much of. So what I'm trying to say is if it fails completely, it's your fault.
Was that Payne's gray and green gold? No.
Yeah, and a touch of the raw umber,
Okay.
which is going to be the more opaque. I'm using
Would that Payne's gray, would one or the other, either the umber or the Payne's gray be better?
I don't know.
I just wondered if it would, the green gold would show up a little more in the mixture.
Oh, probably with the Payne's gray. I think that the those umber colors are so dense.
Yeah,
Unless I just used a touch of it, which, you know, I can come back in and do. Now I'm just switching to pure Payne's gray because I want the coolness of that color, the kind of bluey, dark blue.
Michael, did you redo your lights again?
No, I didn't turn on the side ones. Would you like me to?
No, it just it looks more natural, I think, but I'm not
good.
sure.
Good.
Cheryl.
And I actually ordered a microphone, a wireless Bluetooth microphone that will unfortunately show up today. So hopefully for our last couple classes, I'll have better sound quality.
That's not so bad.
Beautiful.
Now the magic happens when he starts wiping away.
Yeah.
Let's hope. Let's hope. All right. So now what I'm going to do is grab a big brush.
It's going to create like a
Just a
dreamy
great big huge house painting brush here. Hey, look, a scene is sort of appearing a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
You can see areas where I could use more dark. All right, and brush that out again. Huh, kind of fun. Grab my soft brush so I don't have so many. That big house brush has got such bad bristles that it's leaving all these lines in there. So hoping that this little soft guy here, it's that weird fan brush, the
I love this part of the painting. Like
I'm
when it's-
sorry.
I love this part of the painting, like when it like after the brushing, it creates like kind of dreamy effect.
Yeah, very dreamy. I'm actually going to go ahead and brush it out one more time, even a little heavy-handed, more heavy-handed, because I don't want all these really fast transitions. I want them to be a little more subtle. In fact, I'll even add a little more color onto these areas. There we go. So yeah, it feels like you said, kind of like a very dreamy. Wow.
Okay, you're done.
I've been wasting a lot of paint. One really nice thing though is I mean, that was like 5 minutes of putting on some paint, and I can kind of see if the design, where it's working, maybe where it's not working very quickly. And you saw that I didn't have to stick with my initial plan. I was able to kind of come back in and add, more color, more value really quickly.
Look at the sky reflected in the water. It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know if you guys are seeing it, but I got some real bad streaks. No, oh, that's probably the gesso underneath, because this is probably got 2 or 3 old paintings underneath it. So I got some really odd, irregular marks, but we'll see if we can't take care of those. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is reveal my light and my sky shapes here. Kind of like this weird, very moody sky, but I'm not going to stick with it. So I'm just trying to think of, I want irregularity in my sky. I don't want to have like a whole bunch of trees that are all the same size and shape in there. And already you can see where I put the warm versus the dark. Already kind of feels like the light's coming through there.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice. Okay, I'm going to have my sun right about here. Now I'm going to get to the water. You can see where the paper towel, I didn't wrap it up in my hand very well. I'm making all these funny little scratch marks here.
For some reason, it looks like a Grand Canyon or something similar. It'll change when you add trees, but yeah.
Like we're looking down, far down, you mean?
Yeah, kind of.
Just try to get rid of all these little scratch marks that I made. All right, let's bring some light across the ground a little bit here where it's hitting. I'm just kind of trying to figure out where the tops of the light might be hitting these bushes and grasses kind of in the foreground here. And it's obviously way too strong unless I want to make a pond or something back here that, you know, this creek is going back to, which could be kind of cool. Kind of already feels like there's mist coming off the water.
Wow.
All right, now I can kind of come back in and start to make these trees a little more interesting, a little more divergent from each other. And I'm just going to use a little less pressure. Can even start to bring in some little bits of sky holes maybe into some of them.
So I just watched you do this whole thing and I still don't know how you do it.
You see that I'm just going back and forth a lot though. Like, you know, where I brighten an area, decide it's too bright, I can just take the little bit of paint that's already on there and pick it up very softly. So this is a, you know, a fairly clean, dry brush. And, you know, because I want the light on the tops of the bushes, but I don't want it to be as light or as bright as my water.
Do you clean the soft brush often, Michael?
Depending, yeah, if I want it to, you know, get back into the lights and I've just done this area, you know, and I want to get back up here to soften, I would of course want to, you know, just wipe it clean a little bit.
Got you.
It
Separate
just
like
depends on how much contamination I want, because I want the harmony, you know, from all the colors, and I want the earthiness of all the colors. Same thing with my paper towel. Sometimes like I'll just keep wiping away for a little while without moving my finger to a new spot because I don't mind that it's getting a little bit dirtier. I can actually use that as I, you know, get away from the source of the light down here. Now I've got a dirty towel and I can use that to kind of hint at the fact that the water's a little darker, a little cooler as I get away. And then when I want to get back to the light spot, find one of the rare clean spots on this towel and just get back to this So I kind of like that. So now I can get to Q-tips. This area ended up a little warmer than I probably would have liked, but I can always come back in and add, cooler colors. I didn't put any blue or anything on my palette. The other thing is I think I want this tree form. I guess I do have a tree now. Let's make it a little bigger. Maybe even take it off. We'll see what happens if I take it up all the way off the scene. But that's been something really nice for me to discover, is that even when I'm doing a wipe away with the oils, it's not, I can kind of continue to manipulate by adding, subtracting, coming back in. So now with the Q-tips, I can really start to get in there and hopefully make some interesting forms in these trees. With the full knowledge that I'll come back in with a brush and mess these little Q-tip marks up. Let's zoom in there a little bit so you guys can see that a little better. You can see how the trees are starting to take shape.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Not well planned out or anything, but I'm just trying to make sure I don't have repetition of shape, repetition of forms. I want each one of these little trees, even though they're going to be kind of subtle and washed out, want them to kind of have their own character, a little bit of a personality.
Right here where your thumb is.
That's a realizable go make.
Check the status of your.
See, I'm building a little bit of a force field around them, which I don't want, but I know how to come back in and kind of mess that up a little bit.
You're supposed to tell me that.
Well, but
This is the code online.
yeah,
It was,
they told you that.
yeah, today they
I can get as detailed or, not detailed as I want back there. That is completely up to you. So I got to figure out if this creek, I don't want it to feel like it's coming downhill. And I feel like this top bump right here is making it feel like it's coming down a little bit. So I got to figure out, what do I do to flatten that out just a little bit? So I'm just going to bring this up a little higher here. Did that work to kind of flatten it out a little bit?
Yeah,
Looking good.
So just kind of messing up the reflection a little bit to kind of hint at some of these grasses, but the grasses are really glowy in the reflection. And the paint's going to start to tack up a little bit, meaning be a little stickier, which can actually be really useful as I'm slowly discovering where things are in space. Hopefully hinting at maybe some bushes back there. That got way too bright there. Paint's so soft that it's picking up, but I will deal with that here in just a second. Burning through the Q-tips here. Linda Morgan O'Connor,
Yes.
what do you think?
I'm painting along, actually. It's the first time I've tried painting along. You are a hard person to keep up with, I'll tell you.
Well, especially because I'm just kind of making it up. So,
Yeah, well, I'm
you
making
know,
it
and
up
I'm
too.
changing my mind as I
Yeah.
go along. But I was going to ask you if this is kind of a little bit how you have been doing kind of more
Yeah,
of a
I've been,
body.
yeah, pretty much. I mean, I'm just blocking, like I'm doing a pretty standard wipe away, just blocking in sections with different colors to like based on sky foreground reflections and stuff. So yeah, it's the same thing. I'm trying to work on Arches oil paper here and not really conducive to wipe away. I'm making it happen
No,
by force, but
pretty thirsty. Yeah.
very thirsty. And I didn't even gesso it. So yeah, but it does actually still wipe away somewhat. It's
As
enough
long as you're
to make
fast.
notes and suggestions and kind of see, get an idea. So yeah.
Who needs brush when you have Q-tip, right?
Right.
Yeah. Well, I'll use the brush basically everywhere. I've used the Q-tip here just a little bit, just because otherwise I just have that same mark everywhere.
Okay.
Don't want that. And now I've got a very dirty, dirty Q-tip, very destroyed end. I'm going to see if I can use it though here in just a second to actually paint with a little bit. But I'm going to want to probably add some red. I'll be very curious what this mark makes because the Q-tip is literally fraying.
Pull it off.
I don't know. This might not be my best idea compared to all my other best ideas.
Looks like flower over there.
That's what I'm trying to add, is some kind of like leafy. That's probably silly. I should probably not, I'm gonna wipe those back off for now, because for one, I don't want to paint around them.
Good point.
But there's some marks I can make with that Q-tip. All right, so now what I'll do is grab a couple brushes, one or two soft ones. I've got one really nice soft brush here, old rosemary brush. And then I'm gonna grab a couple, maybe brushes that have some crazy texture to them.
So I've got to go make pie. So I
Sounds like a good reason to get out of here.
so happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I enjoyed this class. So what is the homework for next week?
Wow, I really need to start thinking about that before class.
Okay, that's okay. That's okay. Just
How about the homework is to start our group painting?
okay. So
Yeah.
then
Because
Yeah.
otherwise we don't get done in time, because
Okay.
we're
right.
still working on it, because I'd like you guys to spend 2 weeks on it. That
Okay.
way we'll be done on the 7th week.
Okay.
And
I
so
will
we
be
can
good.
all look at each other's work. So
Yeah.
the homework is to use that crazy tree, and I'll provide some more images after class here.
Okay, sounds good.
And I'll probably just email them as well as add them to the Padlet.
Okay, that sounds great. Next week will be my last week because I'm going to Mexico the next week. So,
Okay,
but I'll start working on it. Anyway,
perfect.
goodbye.
Have a great Thanksgiving.
Okay, you too.
What kind of pie are you making?
I'm making 2 pumpkin pies.
All
My
right.
sister's bringing apple, but I'm cooking everything else, so I got to get started.
Oh, no kidding. All right. Well, thank you for being here today. I know it was kind
Okay,
of crazy to have a class the day before Thanksgiving,
no,
but
I
appreciate all you guys being here.
I enjoy it. Thank you.
Oh, and this is Darlene, and I need to go. I have an appointment in Portland I need to get to, so I'm going to be leaving too, but I will be back next week, and hopefully my printer
Okay.
will be back before next week, so get that problem solved. Anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you, Darlene. Have a great
Darlene.
Thanksgiving.
Good
Thank you.
holiday.
Have a nice Thanksgiving. Yes, that'd be good. Thank you. Okay.
So yeah, using the areas that I cleared off with the Q-tip now, I can kind of come across with the brush and just make them a little more irregular. And all of that. And then I'm going to come back in with my soft brushes and blur it out a little bit and make some of these areas where it's got way too bright. I'll just make those darker, but it'll still be lighter in comparison to the areas around it. So it'll almost just look like a subtle texture, I hope. Always the caveat of I hope. And now in this front area, I've just grabbed some crazy brushes where I just want to get some texture in there. You see how that just makes it, well, looks crazy right here, but makes it irregular, leaning in towards the kind of wild organicness of these grasses. And I'm looking forward to coming in and smushing these back out with the softer brush. Moving my sun down a little lower. So that I can do this, wipe back away. All right, let's get back to that soft brush and see if we can't fix some of this chaos that I just made in there. You can see I can kind of wipe in the direction of that I want those sun rays. Kind of fun. Let me move the camera back so it's hopefully a little less glary. Oh, I see what's happening. I got sunlight coming in from one of my windows. Hang on a second. Does that make it a little easier to see? Nope, a little bit.
Yeah, less clear.
All right, I've got to shut all my windows. And let me try setting up a side light real fast. I don't know if that made it worse or better.
Kind of glary.
Yeah,
That's better.
Yeah, it is better.
All right, painting in the dark again. I got two side lights though. We'll see what that does. So just softly brushing it out here, and then I'm going to come in and more purposely brush out some areas. But hopefully this helps get rid of that glare for you. Now I'm just going to come back in and some of these areas that I took off too much paint, I can just use the paint that's around it. Again, I'm having now I'm painting from the monitor.
I think it's good that my wipeaways are always so messy, because if mine look like this, I'd probably leave them.
I might leave this one. I'm kind of liking it. Maybe I'll paint back into the sky and leave the ground.
I love it the way it is.
It's beautiful.
Really beautiful.
Well, I think that was fun. I think we all learned about we don't have to we can be smarter about our underpainting, about putting kind of the right colors. You know, they don't have to be perfect,
Right.
but you know, having this warmth here sure reads nicely, and I'm not having to fight it as much. You know, I didn't have to wipe away all the you know, the blues and browns and everything else.
It doesn't look wipe away. Looks like a complete painting.
Yeah.
Right.
Gorgeous.
So yeah, the other thing I would probably do, I really like the little spindly plants and things that I've got in the reference. I don't know if it'll let me do it over the wet or if I should let it dry, which thank goodness this painting will probably be dry in an hour or two because there's so little paint. But I would probably just grab one of my liner brushes. See if I have any available. Yep. Just one of the littler brushes here. And I can try a little bit here. This is probably not the right time to do this. Probably be served better to let it dry. That way, if I mess it up too, I can just wipe
You
it off.
can wipe it off.
Yeah. But otherwise, what I do when I do like the spindly little branches is it's a drag. I don't paint them in very often. It's just a quick. I probably use a touch of paint thinner would help the paint move just that little bit faster. But I don't want them to be strong. I want them, I'm using all the very transparent paint here. Very subtle. I don't even know if you guys can kind of see them or not.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Some.
Yeah, I think I will wait on these because they're not moving the way I want. But I would do that and then start adding, just little bits of leaves and, for some things and taking those all the way up. And then I could bring a couple of grasses into the water. But I want to look at the colors that they're next to. So I got these kind of reds and yellows. So I wouldn't want to put black grasses here. Dark grasses. I want to keep the harmony going. And the truth is I'll probably even after I get these on, I'll probably still take my soft brush and brush them out a little bit so I don't all of a sudden have these really crisp, strong details right here. I should ask you again, Linda Morgan O'Connor, my assistant teacher in this class, evidently. When you do like in the foreground on the painting that we looked at today, you had, the area where I said that, we were talking about we could add more contrast, but you left it, so that our eye went to the mid area and to the background. Did you soften those after you kind of put them in the foreground areas?
Let me think. I have a really, really light touch. And so if I want something, so I think I put them in more soft. I probably soften them immediately. But just by almost like just these little circular strokes over the paint to soften it. I don't know if that makes any sense to you. I'm just thinking about that process. And it's really like that's how I do a lot of my blending. It's like these little circular or U-shaped strokes going across and going down and working my way down. But you're talking about like the foliage.
Well, like I'm putting in these silly little grasses. I don't know if you guys can see them.
Yes.
Yeah. They're going to look out of place because everything else is so soft edged.
Yeah, I would use I use my Q-tip again. I use my Q-tip.
Oh, really?
Yes, I do. That's how I soften it a lot of the time. And sometimes I'm doing it right away. I'm trying to think through like, okay, how do I do this? Sometimes I will put it in soft, but then if it's not soft enough, I'll go back in a little while, maybe as I'm painting, I'll look back on it and it'll say, I wish that was softer. I'll take a Q-tip and just, the paint is probably set up a little bit.
Right. And
Right.
it happens fast with these little detail,
Yeah.
especially with a little bit of paint thinner in them. And
Right, right.
the hard part about doing it wet into wet, like I'm doing where I'm trying to do detail, is if I add paint thinner too much, it'll start wiping away the paint down in the areas that I don't want it to.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right, well, I'm just going to take my soft brush and just very lightly, there we go. It barely touches them.
Someone once said, you touch that like you're painting with a feather.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so many tools we can use. Yeah, if you guys would have had me as your teacher a number of years ago, I was using, 3 colors and telling everybody all they needed was a flat size 4 and 8. And it's true, you can do a lot of damage with that, but I sure have really found the joy in, using all my literally being like in the dollar store and going, oh, that could be a brush. Oh, that could be a brush.
Yeah.
I do that too. I look at the makeup brushes in the dollar store.
Yeah. Exactly. Or even in the kitchen area. It's like that weird spatulas and basters. Not that I use them or do it, but just like
Joseph McGurl, I have a video of him using a plastic or a rubber basting brush with wide things on the bottom. He put the movement of the water in with that across a lake.
how funny. Yeah, he's pretty amazing. I watched one of his videos, and that's what really kind of got me into using acrylics as an underpainting. And now I'm actually working on another one just for myself. And I just really building it up slowly with a lot of the thick texture medium.
Mm-hmm. You'll need to let us know how that goes then.
Yeah.
You're painting on a wooden panel, right, Michael?
Yeah. And I'm really seeing the texture of my underpainting, which hopefully you guys aren't seeing too much. But because it's kind of a irregular, organic scene, I'm not, luckily most of the weird textures are kind of playing along. All right. Well, I think we're about going to call it there. Might have to turn off these other lights to get rid of the glare. Can you guys see the little bits of detail I put into the grasses
Mhm.
there a little bit?
That is beautiful.
Something.
Very nice.
see how it looks in the dark. Still a lot of glare from. Here, if I
Yeah.
move my-
Still, it looks good.
It's beautiful.
Very nice.
Yeah, so I still think that this area is too light. So I can just kind of pick up some. I want that transition, you know, on the edge of the tree, but not that strong. So that's what I would do basically, is kind of come through and look, you know, where can I lighten, where can I darken? How can I keep the movement and the focus, the viewer moving in the direction and the way I want? All right, let's call it a day, my friends.
Thank you, everyone.
That was a lot of fun. And I'll keep working on this, and then I'm gonna also send you guys all the references of that
Okay.
tree. Yeah, I want you guys to enjoy Thanksgiving. Hassan, you just eat too much tomorrow. Think of us. And yeah, this was a ton of fun. Thank you guys for letting me play and experiment and try something new, but I think it worked out fairly well, and I think we can all
We
use that
learned a lot.
knowledge.
Yeah, that was great. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody, and thank
Yes,
you.
happy Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving, everyone. And can I share some good news? My
What's that?
husband just received his letter from USCIS that he's in the process of going through citizenship.
Hey, all right.
Yay!
That's
Nice.
something.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good timing too, yeah. Mary, if you're not.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Merry
makes
Christmas.
me so happy I could cry.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank
All
you
right,
again,
well, you guys are
Michael.
awesome, and have a great holiday, and yeah, the homework is basically to get started on that,
Okay.
on the image, and I really look forward to seeing your creativity and what you guys come up with, and again, make it your own, you know? So I'll get those references out to you here hopefully soon, if not today, then soon. But I'm gonna try to do it this afternoon after I go get some food.
Thank you.
See you
Thank
next
you.
year, guys.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Oh yeah, see you next year, Hassan.
Okay, see ya.
Have a great trip.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.